What if I told you there's a country where a river changes direction every year, where homes are built above the ground for survival, and where a single temple represents an entire nation? Cambodia is full of details like these, but most of them are never talked about. In this video, we're going beyond the obvious and uncovering 21 lesser-known facts that will completely change how you see this country. Angkor's giant urban scale. When most people think about Angkor, they picture a single famous temple and move on. That is far too small a way to understand it. Angkor was not just a temple site, but the core of a vast urban landscape that stretched across hundreds of square kilometers and functioned as one of the greatest pre-industrial settlement complexes on Earth. Archaeologists using satellite mapping and modern survey methods showed that Greater Angkor was an enormous low-density city linked by canals, roads, reservoirs, and carefully organized infrastructure. In plain English, this was a functioning urban world, not a lonely ruin in the jungle. That matters because it changes Cambodia's place in global history. Angkor was operating at a scale that rivaled or exceeded many other famous pre-modern cities. So when people call it one of the largest pre-industrial urban complexes ever identified, that is not travel brochure poetry. It is a serious archaeological conclusion. The river that flows backwards. Most rivers follow a simple rule. They flow in one direction and never look back. The Tonle Sap River in Cambodia ignores that rule completely, and it does so every single year. During the dry season, the river flows normally, draining water from Tonle Sap Lake into the mighty Mekong River. But when the monsoon rains arrive, the Mekong swells so dramatically that it forces water to push back upstream. This reverses the flow of the Tonle Sap River, sending massive volumes of water back into the lake. As a result, the lake expands several times its original size, flooding surrounding forests and creating one of the most productive freshwater ecosystems on the planet. This natural phenomenon supports millions of people through fishing and agriculture. It is not a rare event or a scientific curiosity. It is a predictable, seasonal cycle that shapes daily life across central Cambodia. Few places on Earth operate on such a dramatic hydrological rhythm. The only flag with a real building. Most national flags rely on abstract symbols, colors, or stylized emblems that represent ideas rather than physical places. Cambodia breaks that pattern in a very direct way. Its flag features a detailed depiction of Angkor Wat, one of the most recognizable religious structures in the world. This is not a symbolic outline or a simplified icon. It is a clear architectural representation of a real monument that still stands today. That makes Cambodia's flag unique among national flags, as it places a specific building at the center of national identity. The choice is not accidental. Angkor Wat represents cultural pride, historical continuity, and the legacy of the Khmer Empire. Even after periods of conflict and hardship, the temple remained a powerful symbol of resilience. When Cambodians look at their flag, they are not just seeing colors and shapes. They are seeing a real place tied directly to their history, religion, and sense of national identity. From Hindu temple to Buddhist sanctuary, Angkor Wat is widely known today as a Buddhist temple, but that was not its original purpose. When it was constructed in the early 12th century under King Suryavarman II, it was dedicated to the Hindu god Vishnu and designed according to Hindu cosmology. The temple's layout, carvings, and orientation all reflected religious ideas imported from India and adapted into Khmer culture. Over time, however, Cambodia's dominant religion shifted from Hinduism to Theravada Buddhism. Instead of abandoning Angkor Wat, the Khmer people gradually transformed it into a Buddhist sanctuary. Statues, rituals, and spiritual meanings evolved, but the structure itself remained in continuous use. This transition is remarkable because many ancient religious sites fall into ruin when belief systems change. Angkor Wat did not. It adapted. Today, it stands as one of the rare monuments in the world that has served two major religions across centuries without losing its central role in society. The Mekong's rare freshwater dolphins. Hidden within the muddy currents of the Mekong River lives one of Southeast Asia's most unusual animals, the Irrawaddy dolphin. Unlike ocean dolphins, this species is adapted to freshwater and prefers slow, deep river pools, particularly along the Cambodia-Laos border. These dolphins have rounded heads, no beak-like snout, and a calm, almost curious behavior that sets them apart from their ocean cousins. Their presence is not just a biological curiosity, but an indicator of ecosystem health. Unfortunately, their numbers have declined due to overfishing, habitat disruption, and accidental entanglement in fishing gear. Conservation efforts in Cambodia have helped stabilize the population in recent years, making sightings still possible, though never guaranteed. For locals, these dolphins are more than wildlife. They are part of the river's identity. For visitors, seeing one surface briefly in the Mekong feels like catching a glimpse of something both rare and quietly ancient. Villages that float with the seasons. On Tonle Sap Lake, entire communities exist without fixed ground beneath them, adapting instead to the lake's dramatic seasonal changes. These floating villages are not temporary shelters, but fully functioning settlements, complete with homes, schools, shops, and even small churches or temples. During the dry season, structures cluster closer together as water levels drop. But when the monsoon arrives and the lake expands, everything rises and spreads out across a much larger area. Houses are built on floating platforms or anchored boats, allowing them to move naturally with the water. This way of life requires constant adjustment and deep environmental knowledge passed down through generations. Fishing remains the backbone of daily survival, with families relying on the lake's rich biodiversity. To an outsider, it may look unstable or improvised, but in reality, it is a highly adapted system. These communities do not fight nature. They move with it, quite literally. Homes built above the flood. Across much of rural Cambodia, traditional houses are raised on tall wooden stilts, sometimes several meters above the ground. At first glance, this might seem like an architectural style choice, but it is a practical response to the country's seasonal flooding. During the rainy season, rivers overflow and lowlands can become submerged for weeks or even months. Elevated homes keep families, belongings, and livestock safe from rising water. The space beneath the house is not wasted either. It is often used for storage, cooking, or as a shaded area for daily activities. In the dry season, this lower space becomes a social hub, while in the wet season, it may sit partially underwater. This design has been refined over generations and reflects a deep understanding of local environmental conditions. It is simple, effective, and durable. In Cambodia, architecture is not about appearance first. It is about survival, adaptation, and practicality. A dual-currency, everyday economy. Cambodia operates with a highly unusual monetary system, where two currencies function side by side in daily life. The official national currency is the Cambodian riel, but the US dollar is widely used for most transactions, especially in cities and tourist areas. Prices for hotels, restaurants, and even everyday goods are often listed in dollars, while small change is typically given in riel. This system developed over time due to economic instability in the past and the need for a more stable medium of exchange. Today, it creates a practical but slightly complex environment where locals and visitors constantly switch between currencies without thinking much about it. Larger payments are almost always made in dollars, while smaller purchases rely on riel. It may sound confusing at first, but in reality, it works smoothly. Cambodia has effectively built a hybrid economy where two currencies coexist without formal separation. The city that was emptied overnight. In one of the most extreme events of modern history, Phnom Penh was completely emptied of its population during the Khmer Rouge takeover in the mid-1970s. Within days, millions of residents were forced to leave the capital and march into the countryside. The regime aimed to transform Cambodia into a purely agrarian society, eliminating urban life entirely. Hospitals were evacuated, schools were closed, and families were separated with little warning. What had been a busy, functioning capital quickly became a silent, abandoned city. The consequences were devastating, leading to widespread suffering and loss of life across the country. Today, Phnom Penh has rebuilt itself into a growing urban center, but the memory of that forced evacuation still shapes the nation's identity. It stands as a stark reminder of how quickly a city can disappear when political ideology overrides human reality. One of the youngest nations in the region, Cambodia has one of the youngest populations in Southeast Asia, and this shapes almost every aspect of life in the country. A large portion of the population is under the age of 30, which is partly the result of historical events that reduced older generations decades ago. Today, this youthful demographic is driving economic growth, urban expansion, and cultural change at a rapid pace. Walk through Phnom Penh or any growing town, and you will notice that much of the workforce, from service jobs to tech startups, is made up of young people. This creates energy and momentum, but also pressure on education systems and job markets. A young population means opportunity, but it also demands constant development to keep up with expectations. Cambodia is not a country shaped by aging traditions alone. It is increasingly defined by a new generation that is actively building its future. Kun Khmer, the ancient fighting art. Long before modern combat sports became global entertainment, Cambodia had its own striking tradition known as Kun Khmer. This martial art uses punches, kicks, elbows, and knees, making it visually similar to Muay Thai, but its roots run deep within Khmer history. Reliefs and carvings at ancient temples, including Angkor, depict fighters in poses that resemble techniques still used today. This suggests that organized forms of Khmer boxing existed centuries ago. In modern Cambodia, Kun Khmer is both a sport and a cultural symbol, with matches broadcast on television and attended by enthusiastic local crowds. Fighters train intensely, often starting at a young age, and bouts are accompanied by traditional music that adds a ritual atmosphere. While debates continue over historical origins between neighboring countries, one thing is clear: Kun Khmer is not a recent invention. It is a living continuation of a much older fighting tradition. The Krama, a simple cloth with endless uses. At first glance, the krama looks like nothing more than a checkered scarf, but in Cambodia, it is one of the most practical and culturally important items in daily life. Made from cotton and worn by people of all ages, the krama serves dozens of purposes depending on the situation. It can be used as a head covering against the sun, a face mask against dust, a towel, a baby carrier, or even a makeshift hammock. Farmers, construction workers, and city residents alike rely on it every day. Its design is simple, but its versatility is unmatched. Beyond function, the krama also carries cultural meaning, representing identity, tradition, and resilience. During difficult periods in Cambodia's history, it became a symbol recognized across the country. Today, it remains both a practical tool and a quiet, cultural statement. Few everyday objects carry this much utility and meaning at the same time. The water festival that stops a nation. Every year, Cambodia comes to a near standstill during Bon Om Tuk, the water festival, one of the most important celebrations in the country. The festival marks the natural reversal of the Tonle Sap River, a rare event that directly impacts fishing cycles and agriculture. In Phnom Penh, the banks of the river transform into a massive gathering space where hundreds of thousands of people come together to watch long, narrow racing boats compete at high speed. These boats are powered by large teams of rowers moving in perfect coordination, creating a spectacle of rhythm and energy. The celebration lasts several days and includes fireworks, concerts, and traditional ceremonies. It is not just entertainment. It is a cultural expression tied to nature's rhythm and national identity. For many Cambodians, this festival is the highlight of the year, where community, tradition, and celebration merge into one powerful event. A coastal city transformed overnight. Sihanoukville was once a quiet coastal town known for its relaxed beaches and small-scale tourism. That changed rapidly in the late 2000s and especially in the late 2010s, when foreign investment, largely from China, began pouring into the area. Hotels, casinos, and high-rise developments appeared in a very short time, reshaping the skyline and local economy. What had been a laid-back destination turned into a fast-growing urban zone driven by construction and gambling tourism. This transformation brought new opportunities, but also challenges, including infrastructure strain and cultural shifts. Many locals found themselves adapting quickly to a changing environment, while some traditional aspects of the town faded. Today, Sihanoukville stands as a clear example of how global investment can rapidly alter a place. It is no longer just a beach escape. It is a symbol of Cambodia's accelerated and sometimes uneven development. Street food as a way of life. In Cambodia, eating is not confined to restaurants or formal settings. Street food is a central part of daily life, and for many people, it is the most practical and affordable way to eat. From early morning until late at night, roadside stalls and small carts serve a wide variety of dishes, from noodle soups to grilled meats and fresh fruit. Meals are often prepared right in front of customers, using simple tools but refined techniques passed down through generations. This creates a fast, efficient system where food is always available and rarely expensive. For locals, it is routine. For visitors, it feels immersive and authentic. The atmosphere is informal, lively, and constantly moving. Street food in Cambodia is not a trend or a novelty. It is the backbone of everyday dining, reflecting both economic reality and cultural habit in a very direct way. A country without 4 seasons. Unlike much of the world, Cambodia does not follow the familiar pattern of spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Instead, the climate is divided into 2 main periods, the dry season and the rainy season. Temperatures remain consistently warm throughout the year, with only slight variation, which means there is no true cold period. The dry season brings clear skies and intense heat, while the rainy season introduces heavy, often predictable, afternoon downpours driven by monsoon winds. This rhythm shapes everything from agriculture to daily routines. Farmers plan planting cycles around rainfall, and even urban life adjusts to the expectation of sudden storms. The absence of 4 distinct seasons simplifies the calendar but creates its own challenges, especially with flooding and humidity. In Cambodia, time is not marked by falling leaves or snow. It is marked by water, heat, and the steady pulse of the monsoon. Rice fields that shape us a nation. Rice is not just a crop in Cambodia. It is the foundation of daily life, culture, and landscape. Across the countryside, vast rice fields stretch in every direction, changing color with the seasons from bright green to golden yellow. Most rural families are directly or indirectly connected to rice farming, whether through cultivation, processing, or trade. The planting and harvesting cycles dictate the rhythm of village life, influencing work schedules, festivals, and even school attendance in some areas. Traditional methods are still widely used, although modern techniques are slowly being introduced. Rice is also central to Cambodian cuisine, with meals often built around it rather than accompanied by it. This deep reliance goes beyond food security. It reflects a historical continuity that has remained largely intact despite periods of disruption. In Cambodia, rice is not simply grown. It defines how people live. Rainforests, still largely unexplored. Cambodia is home to vast stretches of tropical rainforest, particularly in the Cardamom Mountains and other remote regions, where large areas remain difficult to access even today. These forests are not just scenic landscapes. They are some of the most biologically rich environments in Southeast Asia, hosting rare species of animals and plants that have yet to be fully studied. Scientists continue to discover new species, which highlights how little of this ecosystem has been thoroughly explored. At the same time, these forests face ongoing threats from illegal logging and land development. Conservation efforts have increased in recent years, aiming to protect both biodiversity and the livelihoods of local communities who depend on the forest. The reality is clear. Cambodia still holds natural environments that are not fully mapped or understood. In a world where most land has been documented, that is becoming increasingly rare. Rediscovered in the 19th century. For centuries, the temples of Angkor were known to local Khmer communities but remained largely absent from global awareness. That changed in the 19th century when French naturalist Henri Mouhot documented the site and published descriptions that captured international attention. His writings portrayed Angkor as a vast and mysterious ruin hidden within dense jungle, which fascinated European audiences at the time. While he did not technically discover the temples, his accounts played a major role in introducing them to the wider world. Following this, scholars, archaeologists, and colonial authorities began systematic studies and restoration efforts. Over time, Angkor transformed from a regional cultural site into a global historical landmark. Today, it is recognized as one of the most important archaeological complexes on Earth. The so-called rediscovery was less about finding something new and more about revealing it to a global audience that had previously overlooked it. A skyline rising from tradition. Phnom Penh has undergone a visible transformation in recent years, shifting from a low-rise, traditional city into a rapidly developing urban center. Modern high-rise buildings, luxury apartments, and office towers are now part of the skyline, reflecting strong economic growth and foreign investment. This change has been especially noticeable along the riverside and in newly developed districts, where construction projects continue to reshape the city. Despite this rapid modernization, traces of the past remain clearly visible. French colonial architecture, traditional markets, and Buddhist temples still stand alongside glass towers, creating a layered urban identity. The contrast is striking. Old and new exist side by side, sometimes in harmony, sometimes in tension. Phnom Penh is not a city that has erased its past. Instead, it is a place where history and development are unfolding at the same time, often within the same street. A blend of Buddhism and spirit beliefs. In Cambodia, religion is not practiced in a strictly defined or isolated way. While the vast majority of the population follows Theravada Buddhism, many Cambodians also hold strong beliefs in spirits, ancestors, and unseen forces that influence daily life. This blend of Buddhism and animism creates a unique spiritual landscape where formal religious teachings coexist with older traditions. It is common to see small spirit houses placed outside homes, businesses, or even construction sites where offerings are made to ensure protection and good fortune. Monks may perform blessings, but people also consult spiritual mediums or follow local rituals when facing important decisions. These practices are not seen as contradictory. They are simply part of the same worldview. In Cambodia, religion is not just about temples or ceremonies. It is woven into everyday life, combining belief systems in a way that feels natural rather than divided. And this is just the surface. Cambodia has far more hidden stories than what we covered here, and some of them are even more surprising than these 21 facts. If you want to see more videos like this about countries you think you already understand, make sure you subscribe and stay tuned. Also, tell me in the comments which country I should cover next. I'm always looking for ideas, and your suggestion might be the next video.